Everton have had a very quiet transfer window after a relatively successful season last year in the Premier League. But now with Carlo Ancelotti gone, a very dead transfer window, and still aspirations that they can get back into European football, it does seem a little bit dire in Everton with a lot of negative changes happening, but not a lot of positives coming in. It's most notably, of course, Ancelotti leaving, James potentially wanting out, and nothing really coming in, with their most notable and expensive signing being Damari Gray at 2 million. I'll give it off to Lane here to give his thoughts so far on a very quiet window from Everton and what his thoughts could be on them moving forward in this Premier League campaign.
Well, I'd have to say I think quiet and dire have been quite nice words and generous words to say for their window. I'd use shit and terrible. It has been awful for their only three signings to be Asmir Begovic and Andros Townsend on freeze, and then Damari Gray for 2 million. It is abysmal for the likes of Everton, a team that is always wanting to push Europa League spots, Europe spots, and for me, they're just going to keep falling farther back from that. If you're going to not bring in any quality players after a season where you bring in likes of Ducore, Alan, James Rodriguez, and just some unbelievable talented players, and then you go out and have a summer the next season and bring in nobody to help you push on, and you obviously lose Carlo Ancelotti, who's an unbelievable manager, but you still bring in Rafa Benitez, who I think is still top class. Maybe he doesn't have the same pull as he used to, or maybe players are just not attracted to the likes of what he plans to do in this project at Everton. I just don't know. It's very odd what they've done, and maybe they just finally felt like stopping backing every manager that they have, because it seems like every manager they've gotten and they brought in first year they've backed, they've spent loads of money. Sometimes it's not been good money, but they've spent it. And I just don't understand why they haven't spent any money on Rafa Benitez.
Yeah, you'd have to wonder if there's potentially some effects of spending so much money in the previous campaign and then the effects of the pandemic and whether they're just in a scenario where they don't have money to spend. But it leaves them in a tough spot for sure, and maybe it's just a scenario they're in and there isn't anything they can really do about it. But nonetheless, it's obviously going to have its impacts on the pitch this upcoming season in a negative way. They really haven't brought in the necessary talent to continue to improve their squad and try and push for those European places. I think you're seeing the likes of Aston Villa bring in some quality players. You're seeing the likes of Leeds try to improve the squad. You're seeing the likes of Crystal Palace try to make some moves to push up the table. And not all of those teams are necessarily going to be competing with Everton, but soon they might be, and some of them will be. And Everton just aren't really making the necessary moves to try and push on and continue to compete for a European spot. And that has to be of concern. And like you mentioned, Damari Gray, Begovic, and Townsend is just an absolutely abysmal window. Townsend shouldn't be playing that much for a side the quality of Everton. Damari Gray, based on recent form over the last couple of years, you can definitely say the same. And Begovic isn't going to be doing much for you either, obviously. And so it just really leaves them in a spot where they've added a little bit of depth on the wing, and that's pretty much it. And so if you were to say at the end of last year to Everton's fans, if we come back next year, are we making Europe? The answer is probably not. And now that Ancelotti's gone, now that James isn't happy, even if he does stays, I question how motivated he's going to be to actually play well, how much interest he's going to actually have on the pitch. And we know how important he was last year to their success on the offensive side of the ball due to his creativity and the chances he can make for them. So I have a lot of concerns about this Everton team being able to push for European football this year. And I think they've really set themselves up in a scenario, whether it's due to choice or whether it's due to financial restrictions, that they are not going to be able to achieve the ambitions of European football this season.
Yeah, I really can't disagree with you. This Everton side has massively fallen back from where they'd like to be. If you go back talking about signs like you did, Asmir Begovic will be a quality backup. I still believe he is. Andros Townsend is a very good professional. Has a lot of Premier League experience, but for me, now he'll probably be starting, unfortunately, just because James for me will probably go, and I think he should go. It'll be in the best interest of him and the club. Andros Townsend should be nowhere near a starter for Everton, but he might be this season, which is pretty sad. Damari Gray and him adding a lot of depth to the wing. I'm not saying a lot of quality because I don't think they are top quality for a team like Everton, but doing nothing to improve that starting 11 really is not good for Rafa Benitez walking in and not having any players. I'm guessing he'd like to come in because Rafa Benitez is a top manager, and I think he needs some top players to come in and help him out. Like you said, James more than likely going to leave, and if he does stay, exactly what you said. I don't know how motivated he will be to play for Rafa Benitez and stay in Everton. The reason he did move to Everton from Real Madrid was obviously because of Carlo Ancelotti. He loves Ancelotti. I don't think he'll go to Real Madrid and play for Ancelotti. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens this Everton side this coming season.
Yeah, certainly. There's definitely a lot of questions and a lot of concerns around this Everton side this season, and they do still have a few more weeks in the window, but they don't seem that poised to make a big break in the window. Maybe they make a signing or two, but it just doesn't seem like they're one of those clubs that are highly seeking other players in the window. There are still some teams around them that are interested in some players. You can see Leeds still mentioned with some players. Crystal Palace still interested in some players. Aston Villa now after the sale of Jack Grealish are looking to buy more. Some of those clubs around them are definitely looking to push, to improve, to move forward, to move off the table. And Everton just don't seem like they are in that position to do that so far this summer. As far as where I have them in the upcoming Premier League campaign, I have them sitting in ninth come the end of the season. I wouldn't be completely shocked if they fall lower than that, but I don't really see them much higher than that. And so I do have them sitting outside of European football again for this upcoming season.
You have them quite a bit higher than I do. You're a little bit more optimistic than me. I think for Everton, I have them sitting in 12th. I think a lot more teams have improved that were around them or just below them. And I think the quality above them and behind them are just improving a lot better and a lot faster than Everton are. And I don't think DCL can do enough to keep this team that high up the pit table.
Yeah, certainly. Definitely a year of concern for Everton, a lackluster window. Hopefully one they can improve on, but signs don't indicate that they would do so at this point. That being said, let us know your thoughts down in the comment section about Everton for this upcoming season and their very lackluster transfer window. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you want to hear our other Premier League season previews, then be sure to click the box on the right hand side of the screen. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys in the next one.